Hi BookTube, my name is the Book Mage, welcome back to my channel, and yes, today I'm doing another big fantasy book haul. What else could you expect from me? So I admit I've been trying to buy less. That does not always work out to be the case. And just to clarify as well, there will be a couple books in here that are not fantasy, but the vast majority of books I'm hauling today will be of the fantasy variety. So with that said, I don't want to delay, so yeah, let's get into the books that I've been buying. The first book in my haul I've actually already talked about on my channel, and that is How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. This is just like a little compendium of short stories that goes along with the Folk of Air trilogy, which is something that I read last month in February, and it is actually quite a hefty book. It's quite heavy. It's very pretty inside as well, and of course under the dust jacket, and it is very nicely illustrated. It's basically just a nice fun book to have, and I just kind of wanted to complete the set and just read these while I was still in that headspace, so that's what I did. Okay, the next book in my haul might actually be the coolest book in my haul. It does something very neat, and that book is Master of Sorrows by Justin Cole. So this is a book that I've kind of had my eye on for a while. The cover is brilliant, and I know it's a fantasy, and chic. But for some reason I just did not pick it up. And then I was browsing on Anderida Books, which is one of my favourite bookshops for special cool editions, and this was there, and I admit this was very expensive. However, this is a signed copy, but then also we have this in the front. This book has things that I really like, so aside from a nice map, as we all know I love a good map, we also have this, whatever this document here is. So this is definitely pretty cool, until I tell you this book also has a very secret inscription, and I'm gonna need this for it. So this is a UV light, and this is going to reveal a very special message inside this book. Oh, and one thing I will say is, I don't know if the things that this is going to reveal, they could be spoilery, I literally don't know. Because the first one is going to reveal something secret on the map. So the light will reveal, wow, can you see that? That's so cool. Yes, this book has invisible ink in it. But that's not the only one. There is also this, so it looks like this, and then, oh, look at that. How cool is that? And I think that is it, but is that not just super cool? I love so much when authors do just cool, little interesting, fun things like that with books that they sign. I know not every author can do it, and I know it can't be done on necessarily every single signed copy, but I really do like cute, fun, secret or interactive or unique little things like that with this book. Other than that, I don't recall much about what this book is about, which is very on brand for me because I never know what I'm talking about. I believe this follows a character attending a magical school, but something is telling me that it might not be a school for magic. It might be an anti-magic school, or a school against magic, or something like that. I think it might have to do with magical artifacts or items, and I don't know whether they're destroying them or making them, or I don't know. But I've said it before, any sort of magic or forbidden magic, or where anything magical is at the forefront of the story and is one of the main plot points, whether it's for magic or against magic, it's something that I really tend to like in the books that I read, because I really like magic, and mages and that sort of thing are just my favourite, one of my favourite character archetypes, so I definitely wanted to pick this up. And so yes, that is why this is potentially the coolest book in my haul today. The next book in my haul, you may have seen my March TBR already, and this is a book that I never thought I would read anything by this author again, but apparently I have decided to just, screw myself over and buy this book. And that is Beneath the Keep by Erika Jansen. This is a prequel to the Queen of the Teeling series. I have a very complex relationship with that series of books. I loved book one. I really loved book one. But I despised book two. And I loved, or at least I thought I was going to love book three, and then book three has the worst ending of any book I've ever read in my entire life. So I said I would never read another book by this author. But then she did go and make a prequel about my favourite character. So yes, this is a prequel, and I believe it's set during the reign of Kelsey's mother. Kelsey was the main character from the first book. She's I don't want to say lost heir, but she's the heir to the throne who has been secreted away until she's old enough to assume her crown and begin her rule. This book, I believe, is probably, I think it's set during her mother's reign. I don't know whether this is actually going to follow Kelsey's mother as a main character. I don't know whether she's going to be the queen yet or not, but I'm assuming that she will definitely be present within the book at least. And I think for the most part this is going to follow Lazarus, aka the Mace, who is my favourite character. In the main series he's a Queen's Guard. He's just kind of a big, mean, scary man with a tragic past and a big mace. And yeah, he was one of my favourite characters in the first series, and it's not something I ever thought I would say, because I really did never want to read anything by this author again after the way that the last series ended. But being this is a prequel, I'm pretty sure that nothing that I hated about book two can be in this book, and obviously it's not going to be like the end of a series, so we're not going to be dealing with my issues at the end of book 3, because again, this is a prequel. So yes, I did decide to pick this up and read it, and I will hopefully be reading this month. This is like the main book on my TBR. I'm kind of interested to see, I don't know whether I will like this one or hate this one. I definitely have like very polarizing opinions when it comes to this like series. So yeah, I guess I played myself, and now I own this book, and now I have to read it. The next few books I have are all Goldsboro like special edition books. I did decide to start a Goldsboro, they do like a sci-fi and fantasy, would you call it, a subscription service? So I decided to sign up for that, mainly because you get like first dibs on a lot of fantasy titles, and if Empire of the Vampire or Gareth Hammerhand's The Broken God get special editions through Goldsboro, I want those books. I do not want to be unable to buy them because I'm not like a member. So I do have a few like monthly special editions here, including like some others that I bought just for myself because I couldn't resist. The next of those is this special edition of The Quick by Lauren Owen that comes with a slipcase. So this is a very nice naked hardback edition of the book. I didn't realise it wouldn't come with the cover when I bought it, but I do have another copy that is an ex-library copy. So I did just want to get like a nice edition that wasn't like a gross ex-library copy. I went for like the fancy edition. Yeah, so this was a book that I read in October of 2019, like around Halloween time, and I think into November as well, and it turned out to actually be just one of my favourite books of the year, and one of my new like favourite vampire stories just like ever. So yeah, this book is for the most part about vampires, but in a very specific kind of way. The whole plot is vampires, but yet I think the word vampire is mentioned like maybe once, possibly twice, throughout like the whole book, and it's kind of chunky. The basic plot is there's a brother and a sister, and they live in Yorkshire, which is some nice representation, and the brother goes away to London to become a writer, and suddenly his sister back home in Yorkshire stops receiving his letters. He stops answering hers. She doesn't know what's happened to him, and so she ends up going out to London to figure out what has happened to her brother. It's a really, really nice novel. It's kind of quirky but also dark and gothic, and it feels very like literary fiction, and I think the way that vampires are handled in this, it's both very different but also very familiar and quite classic. So yes, I just wanted a nice proper edition of this book because I think it is one of like my favourite books, definitely one of my favourite vampire books, and we all know as like a little gothic magpie, I do love my gothic literature. Okay, the next book in my haul I picked up almost completely on a whim, and that is Red Noise by John P. Murphy. So this, I admit, it was a cover buy because look at this. I mean, I really like this cover design. I know that this is a sci-fi, and I believe it's like there's a woman who is, I don't know, space miner, and she docks at a particular station to like sell I guess like the ore or the rocks or whatever it is that she's been mining, and to refuel. And I think this station might be like a bit of a lawless place, and I think all hell is going to break loose, and I've heard this described a bit like a sci-fi spaghetti western, so I'm assuming it's going to be like humorous, like maybe like tongue-in-cheek and quite punchy, and just I'm hoping it's just going to be like a fun, weird sci-fi, I guess. Okay, the next two books are ones that were sent to me as part of like the subscription service, so you don't know what those books are necessarily going to be beforehand, or at least for these I didn't. I think they do send out emails in advance, but obviously at the point that I joined it was too late to receive like the heads up email as to what the book was going to be, I guess. So these were both like complete surprises for me. The first one is Star Wars: The Light of the Jedi, and I know nothing about this book and I haven't really looked much at the synopsis. I don't mind Star Wars. I think the movies are fine. I can hear people probably starting to rage. I'm not really a fan of like the wider universe though, and I admit I haven't even seen like the most recent Star Wars film, whatever the third one is of like the most recent series. I just haven't seen it, and I think the only like trepidation with this is that I'm not really familiar with like the wider series. I know there are cartoons, I know there are comics, I know there are like novels, I know there's a lot. There are like spin-off video games and such that I think are like partially canonical, or some of them at least, and so I really am not interested for the most part in getting into this quite big IP. I'm not really interested in getting into this series. I did consider maybe reading this because I do like some sci-fi in general, but I think Star Wars is the kind of sci-fi where it's basically like a fantasy in space, which is not something I tend to gravitate towards. And I saw, I think it was Michael Nitt's review of this book, and that was very helpful for me in deciding whether or not I would actually pick this up, because I was kind of on the fence thinking like maybe I'll give it a go, because it is such a pretty edition. Like look at these pages, this is beautiful. It's a really nice hardback. I love like this cream and blue colour scheme. I do love it. However, his review did kind of cement some of like the worries that I had about this, and I just really don't think it's going to be worth it for me, so I will either be like probably passing this on. I would sell it, but I think maybe if I can find like a friend who is really into Star Wars, they would like this, and they would like to receive this. I don't know if I have any friends that are that into Star Wars, but I'll think about it. So I don't think I'm going to be keeping this, but I figured I would still haul it and show it because, I don't know, one of you might be like interested in knowing that this book exists. The other book I got is also equally beautiful, and again, I don't think it's one that I would have picked up for myself, but this is one that I have decided that I will be reading, and that is Library of the Dead by T.L. Hutchu. This is it's a low fantasy. I think it's set, and this is the thing that put me off, it's set in Edinburgh, and I have a lot of, I will say, Scotland related trauma attached to me, and we're not going to go into it, but yes, I tend to avoid literally anything that's Glasgow is a no-go. Edinburgh, I'm like, okay, maybe I could do Edinburgh. And to be fair, this book does have beautiful coloured pages, and like, look, like the stenciling on this, like with a map, it is actually fantastic, and I really do like this book as a physical object. This is like, it's very close to being my favourite colour, and it is this like beautiful shade underneath. And then I looked up a little bit of the synopsis, and I believe it follows a girl who is sort of like paranormal investigator, or like she deals with ghosts, and ghosts are real. She can see them, she can talk to them, she can interact with them, and I'm assuming she's like a ghost hunter or something along those lines. And there was definitely something else that really wanted to make me read this. What was it? Oh yes, that was it. She has Zimbabwean magic, and I was like, that's definitely something that I've never read about before, and I am really interested in branching out into like non-European centric depictions of like magic, and so once I read that, it says it's a combination of Zimbabwean magic and Scottish pragmatism, and I was like, okay, that sounds like a character that I do really want to read about. I don't tend to pick up novels that are set in the real world, but again, because this is beautiful and I do really want to read about this interesting magic, I am going to be picking this up. I'm going to be keeping this one, and hopefully I'll maybe be reading it this year. It does depend on how my brain is feeling reading about something set in Scotland. We'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely going to keep this one, and I haven't actually heard anybody talk about this, so I guess if you're the kind of person who would like to read about a girl who can talk to ghosts, who is Scottish but also has this like history of Zimbabwean magic, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people could be really interested in this book, so just putting it out there. The next book is the last book that I ordered from Goldsborough, and there are multiple issues with me buying this book, and I know people are going to get mad at me about this book. Not for the reasons you think, just because it's like me being bad with my purchases. Because not only have I not read any of this series, I don't even own books 2 and 3. I only own book 1, and that is The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. So I bought book 1 of this series in like a while ago. I think it was in my last haul, and yeah, the main reasons I don't have books 2 and 3 is because book 3 in this style of cover had such a limited print that like the copies are literally like £600 to £1,000 to buy one. But yeah, I know I said I'm trying to cut down on buying books from series that I have not read, but first of all, look at this beautiful edition. Like, it has black pages, it goes so well, and it's just a very beautiful book, and I'm hoping that I like this series because, you know, I would like to be able to keep this whole series. If I DNF it, I'll have to get rid of like these beautiful books, and I don't want to do that. But also, if I do read them and like them, I would like to have these because, again, if these sell out, I don't want to be trying to like hunt one down and looking at copies that are like £200 and £300. It's not my ideal scenario, so I figured I'd rather buy them now and have them sit unread on my shelves until I've caught up, and hopefully I do. I don't know much about this series. I think book 1 follows a girl called Paige, and she's a clairvoyant, but I think it's set in like a slightly semi-futuristic Britain, but in this world, clairvoyants, or I don't know if there are other magic users, but they are illegal. And as much as I don't really like reading books set in Britain, I will kind of make an exception because, number 1, I loved Samantha Shannon's other book and her writing in particular in The Prairie with the Orange Tree. I do like books with forbidden magic, so I'm thinking that despite it not being like my normal thing, I think I might still like this series. And also, so many people that I follow are really hype about this series, so that's why I bought this book. Now you might think it ends there, but I still need to continue defending myself, as you'll see in a sec. If you watch my most recent vlog, I bought a set of books from an independent bookseller called Inky Fox Books, and they take books and they spray the edges of the books with like unique designs or like stencils and things, and I thought they were really cool, and I do like to support independent businesses, so I did get 4 books from this bookseller with like these unique sprayed pages. The first of which being The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. Look, I just need you to know one thing. Just hear me out for 1 second. I had already bought that copy and it had already arrived, and I wasn't thinking any more about it, but then I was on Etsy and I saw this. Can we please admire this? You can't really tell, but it is like an ombre effect. But yeah, and I just felt like this Like, it goes so well with the book. And I know I said that about like the black edges. I honestly think this one's better. Okay, and then the next 3 books that I also picked up from the same seller was the entirety of the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. So these all come in their original hardback covers as well, and I actually really like this. Not because it's just like raven feathers, which we all know I love corvids and things, but I really like these covers. So this one comes with like these, I don't know if you can tell, but there actually is like a shimmer to these pages. They're like this baby pink with like a silver shimmer. Book 2 has this pages like to match this fire on the front. You can tell that they're like speckled. And then book 3, which is like my favourite cover, it's so shiny and blue and beautiful, and it has these stenciled, it's like flying birds. Part of me wishes it was like blue with like a black stencil over it so that like it matched the colours. I kind of couldn't help but get the whole series, and I do really like the sort of unique sprayed stencil designs that come with these. How am I going to display these? I have too many books. Okay, and all the rest of the books that I bought are just standard bookshop books. The first of which I got this US special edition of Shadow and Bone, which you kind of can't see if I hold it like this. It just looks blank. Yes, but this comes with the slipcase, and I thought this book looked really beautiful when I saw it online, and it does, and I wasn't sure whether I liked the British special editions more than the US special editions, so I just kind of wanted to get it for like my collection and compare, but I don't think I'll be getting any more of this edition in like the rest of the series. I think I'm just going to stick to the UK editions. It does however have like this beautiful like little pull out, and the front of the book, this is why like I'm having second thoughts now because this is really beautiful. So yes, this is the book. Its cover is stunning, but it is quite like a bland material and it's quite plain on this side, and I thought there might be like some interesting like end papers, but they're just white. I don't like it as much as the UK editions, so I'm not sure whether I will continue to collect these, and I might in fact give this one away if I decide to not continue with like this US edition. I'm still back to the point of where the hell do I put these? We're just gonna have to start double stacking. Okay, time for a sci-fi now, because I also picked up Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a series that I wasn't sure I would ever pick up, but a lot of people do seem to really like this series. I believe it's something to do with like we've colonized Mars, and it's this very like Roman-esque society, but I think there are like different levels to it or something, and they might be colour-based, and that might be giving me Homestuck vibes, and I said I would never read Homestuck. I'm assuming it's not like that at all. But yes, I've considered several times picking this up and I just never have, and so I finally decided to just haul it in like this little paperback, so like I've got no commitment, and I'm hoping that I like this and it will be like a new series for me, and that if I ever feel like something more sci-fi, I will have this as an option. The next book in my haul is Skyborn by David Dalgleish. I admit this one was totally a spur of the moment buy, and you might have recognised this from my like entire physical TBR video. I have had this book since like December of like last year. I just haven't put it in any of my hauls for some reason. But this is a world where people have wings, or maybe they wear them. I don't remember. I definitely don't know what my inspiration for picking up this series was. I'm sure it had something to do with that in my brain, but I also do remember reading the like first snippet of this book, and it's written very well and I really liked it and it's really intriguing. It just made me really want to pick up the book. I did read like the first chapter of this and then I was like, maybe I'm not gonna like this book. So I have mixed feelings on it and I haven't read any more, and I think I can see a bit of an envelope that I'm using as a bookmark, so this is how far I got. Yeah, I believe this follows like a brother and sister. They live in this like world, I don't know if it's like a floating world or something. Their parents were like these flying winged warriors who were killed, and so I think the guy at least is definitely like trying to or has become one of these like flying winged warriors, and I don't know about the sister. I don't know if it's sci-fi, I'm assuming it's fantasy. Yeah. Oh, the next one is a real chunky boy, and this one may get a reaction. Yeah, I picked up Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson. This, I believe, is the first in the Malazan series of books. Yes, so weirdly, this is a book that I had my eye on mainly for the cover and a little bit of the synopsis, way before I even really knew about the whole like Malazan thing. I'd seen this, like I knew the name of Malazan, but I'd seen this book and just didn't really realise that this is book one. And so when I went back to like, I can't remember what it was, but something made me go back and look at this and finally decided to pick it up, and I was like, ah, this is book one in that series I hear so much about. So again, I don't really know much of the plot, but it seems like there will be a lot of plot. This is like one very thick boy. And you know, sometimes I am just really in the mood for some epic fantasy. I almost picked this up in February. I don't know what I was thinking, but I do really want to pick this up soon. Okay, next is an indie title, and I believe it's going to be nice and rich and gothic, and that is A Dowry of Blood, I think by S.T. Gibson. Yeah, this is something that I stumbled upon completely accidentally, and I just really liked the cover. I believe this is about like Dracula's brides, or from the perspective of like one of the brides, I think like a new bride, and I think it's something to do with her like coming to terms with the fact that she has like these rival brides, but also they're all kind of in the same spot, and I think this might have like LGBTQ content. I think it is a YA as well, I'm not 100% sure, but it is very short, and again, I really like the cover, so I decided to grab this one. Maybe this is something that I'll pick up like this October when it's like spooky season, but yeah, I'm definitely hoping that this is one that I will like. Okay, the next book I picked up, it's not my usual read. It is The Furies by Katie Lowe. Basically, a couple booktubers that I already follow have like spoken about this book and said that they quite liked this book. I think it follows like some girls at a school, and like a murder or a death occurs, and these 4 girls are like the only ones who know what happened. They've never spoken about it, or they won't tell anyone about it, and I think this is either like them deciding to speak about it or somebody like looking into it and like figuring out what's happened or something like that. So not my usual kind of story, but I do occasionally try to like branch out of like my general fantasy comfort zone. Even so, this isn't normally the kind of thing that I would pick up, but I have heard a few good things from people that I follow in particular. That, and this is gonna be really shallow, but I really like how the spine looks. Is that like that, and this copy like brand new was like a $5 or like less than a $5. That is a nice cheap hardback. And yeah, I can rarely resist a book if it's like on offer. I promise we're almost done, but now I have some very pretty books. The first of which is The Telltale Heart and Other Tales by Edgar Allan Poe. Weirdly, despite being a goth, I do not have any like Poe collections, and there are a few that I would like to get, but this one, aside from being cheap, is actually very pretty, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's very shiny. And what made me want this was I was actually in Waterstones, like the shop, the physical shop, the last time that I saw this, and I kind of wanted it, but I put it back, and then I found it again online. Again, I got a lot of Waterstones vouchers over the Christmas period, and part of me was just like, the last time I looked at this book in person was like a year ago. Oh, I saw this the last time I went into Waterstones, and then it was like a year ago because of the pandemic. So it will be nice to finally have at least like some of Poe's work like in my house, because I don't know why I haven't had any before, unless some of it is in some like my generic like literature bind-ups, but I don't think I do. I might not read like the whole thing at once, but it's something that I can at least like dip in and out of if I want to. I promise we're almost at the end. The next book I got, and again I love the design of this one, it's And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and again, can we admire this very beautiful cover? Yeah, again, this is a classic. It's sort of like the whodunit mystery, and I've never read it, weirdly enough. Even though this has been like rehashed and redone like time and time again, people still tend to say that this stands up very well even today, and that it's still one of like the best, like most classic examples of like this genre, this trope. I think it's like a bunch of people are called out to like a house and somebody gets murdered, and then it's kind of revealed that like the murderer is among you, it's one of you, and then as time goes on, you're trying to figure out who the murderer is. They're dropping like one by one and getting murdered. So, and I will be interested to know, because I do tend to always have this knack for figuring out this person's the villain or like this person's the killer or whatever. I don't know, I'd be interested to see if it's very obvious for me, or if like what I would like to happen is if it's completely surprising. It's always nice to be surprised, and I like when a book can do that, and so like maybe this one will. So yeah, pretty simple. I've just never read it before, so picking it up, especially because it's in this like really beautiful edition. Okay, and the last book in my haul, I swear, this is the final book, and it's actually a comic, and it is the Blue Wraith comic from the Dragon Age series. So this is the hardcover. I think this is just like a one-shot, like, but it is about my sexy brooding elf, Fenris. Admittedly, I'm kind of an Anders girl, but like, we'll let it slide. I don't know if this is going to be like a tie-in. I don't know if Fenris is going to appear in the series again at any point. BioWare does tend to bring back a lot of their fan favourites. So, but yeah, if you've seen my shelves, you'll know I have all of the Dragon Age novels, even though I need to still catch up and read them all, and all of the comics, and the same thing there, I need to catch up and read all of the comics. But so yeah, I was just adding this one to my collection, and I will hopefully get to it in order once I've read through the rest of the comics that precede this. Okay, yeah, those are all the books that I bought this month. I think there's like 21 or something. Yeah, I don't exactly have like the best track record right now for not buying books, but I definitely am cutting down, because I really don't have space for all of these books. Like, I don't know if you can see, but like I'm already like doubled up on my shelves, including like on top of my shelves, and I do have this secret third bookcase with like all of my manga on it, which is also full, yet I have boxes and boxes more manga, and obviously many more books, and there are still books coming out I don't want to buy and I don't want to read, so I do need to do an unhaul at some point. But I like keeping books. Like, I want my own little library. I'm not one of those people that reads a book and then unhauls it. I'll be one of those people where you come to my house and like there'll be books in the living room and a bookcase in, if there's a second living space, like a dining room. Like, not to sound poor, but I don't want to get too hopeful. But yeah, there'll be books like probably in the entrance or the hallway or the landing, and there'll probably be books in my bedroom. Maybe books in the bathroom. There'll be books everywhere. It just sucks that I can't have anywhere to put them right now. So yeah, I think that's about it for this haul. Let me know what you guys thought about the books that I'm hauling, and if there's anything here which I should like definitely bump up my reading list. And yeah, that's been about it from me. And hopefully I will maybe see you guys in the next video. Bye!